Welcome to the Hummingbird Blink Nectar Poetry Podcast. I'm Emily Magpie and I am an artist, a producer, a sound engineer from Bristol. So, yeah, I do all sorts, but a love for poetry, a love for writing, and the poetry of sound is what gets me what gets me going, what I'm into. So yeah, I'm so excited to be a part of the podcast today. Um and I found I really loved art bouncing off of art. I found that so inspirational that I created this song and then it gave other people inspiration to create poetry, which then I read and was like inspired by it. I just feel like it could be a never ending chain of creation, which is really effing beautiful. And yeah, so a bit about me. How did I begin my journey into the music industry? So I used to sing in a jazz band when I was a teenager. And I actually started off kind of more so writing poetry in terms of my own music. I was always, as a teenager, always scribbling poems in my room. I was always sort of drawing, writing poems, any sort of expression really. And I like that there doesn't have to be a linear path for creativity. You kind of just feel drawn to whatever you enjoy, and it's nice that you can have so many different ways to express yourself, rather than just sort of putting yourself in one space and being like, okay, this is what I'm allowed to do, this is my creative outlet, which probably is pretty reflective in my journey into the music industry. So I started off doing that, and then when I was in my 20s, early 20s, then I started just doing open. I sort of took a while to kind of get into my flow with it, really. I started doing a few open mics, started busking. And yeah, from the off, things started happening. It was really enjoyable. I was sort of getting a lot of positive reinforcement from it. And it just felt great to be creating and expressing myself. And I always, at the same time as writing and playing, I always wanted to create the whole worlds around my songs. So I didn't know how to produce, but I just wanted to make those worlds. So I just started learning as I was doing it. Playing around Ableton. I was lucky enough to meet a few really nice producers. This is when I lived in London at this point, who helped sort of give me some mentorship in a very like informal way. So we'd hang out, we'd work on my tracks, they'd teach me stuff. But my goal was always, especially as, you know, a woman in the industry, I didn't want some man to produce it for me, because that's sort of a more stereotypical gender role that we see in the music industry. You know, that it's sort of mostly male identifying people kind of doing everything in terms of production. So I was really adamant. I'm an Aries, so I kind of march to the beat of my own drum. So it started off there really, and then I just learnt by doing. I learnt by playing instruments, by singing, by writing, by producing. For years, and I had some great successes. I had some really good press and radio plays, and played some exciting gigs and supported some brilliant artists. And then a couple of years ago, so 4 or 5 years ago, sort of around the time of the pandemic, I decided that I wanted to study music production in order to be able to not just produce myself, but also mix, and just have a better technical background to sort of back up all that I'd learnt on the job. So I studied for a year in Bristol, loved it, and it was a really great thing to be able to do during the pandemic. It gave me such a great focus. We were able to, where we were in terms of like restrictions. So when my course started, I was able to like go in to some classes, and then we'd learned some from home. It was kind of a mix, but it was a really exciting time. And then I started doing mastering and mixing for others after that. I launched a business, carried on making my own music. I won a scholarship. I got to go to France and work with Craig Silvey, who's worked with like Florence the Machine, who's like an idol of mine, and learn from him. And it's just sort of all gone from there. And now, so now I release, I produce, write, produce, and mix my own music. I like to collaborate more so now. So I have a band who I play with live, two lovely guys in that, Kieran and Max, and they played on my last album, and on my last EP they played some parts on there. That Max played some drums on that one, and on the EP on She Said, Kieran played some guitar, Max some drums. There's it's become more collaborative over the last couple of years in terms of instrumentation, which I love. I feel like, having sort of thrown myself in at the deep end and spent so much time kind of learning and wanting to do everything myself, then it's got to a point where I'm like, okay, I can do lots of this. I feel like I've learned so much, and now I'm really excited to work with other people more and sort of expand out and learn from collaboration. It's kind of been the journey of so I guess I've been creating music for like 8 years or so now. And I released with a lovely label called Deaf Press, who are awesome and just really nice, normal people, which is really special to find in the music industry. My favourite instrument, so I've got into recently the mandolin, but I've kind of bastardized it a little bit. I've like changed the tuning and stuff a bit, but I'm really enjoying playing that. I've also trying to improve my skills on the piano as well. I'm making myself practice scales and inversions lots, which is quite boring and it's not that boring actually. I quite enjoy the process of it to an extent, but practicing's never been something I've been amazing at ever since I was young. I find it hard to make myself practice, so I'm really trying to do it a bit more and kind of work on my skills in those instruments, particularly at the moment, because it's fun to always learn and expand. My favourite song I've released, I really love on my last album, I really love Sunflowers, and I really love 2 Feet, which is on my album There Are Other Forms of Strength, which came out in 2024. Sunflowers is about the inner child and remembering to play and kind of the sacredness of that. And I just loved the production that we came up with for that one. I loved the sounds. There's a really cool Prophet synth in my studio. So I got really excited when I created that synth line, which was kind of the main center of the song. And then 2 Feet, I absolutely love. I wrote it for my dad, who passed away when I was 13. And it's this feeling of that life can be overwhelming and you can feel ungrounded sometimes, and I know I can, and it can feel really hard, and sort of the feeling that I've always feel like he's very present still for me, my dad. I love him loads, and it's the feeling that he's with me, and kind of talking to him. I actually do talk to him, so I like talking to him, and knowing that he's there, and it's like a grounding for me. It's my 2 feet that I come back to when I feel a bit overwhelmed by the world. I know he's still there to support me, so I love playing that song. And Kieran in my band also lost his father a few years ago, so I sort of wanted to write it a bit for him as well, and sort of for anyone who can relate to that experience. and it's always lovely to play live. People seem to really connect with it, which, you know, I know, yeah, as someone who has lost someone, I know how important it is to feel those connections and to see other people getting it, you know. So yeah, I love doing that song. Upcoming projects, events, and releases. So this last year has been so busy, hence why I've been quite slow to record this with Jazz, who's been amazingly patient with me. So we released the album There Are Other Forms of Strength. We went on tour with Disraeli, who is a really great poet and musician from Bristol. So we supported him on tour around the UK. We played at loads of festivals. Yeah, it's been a mega year for us. Played on some main stages at big festivals. We'd never done that before. Yeah, it was it was a summer of very much outward energy, doing so much. And it was amazing. And now I'm not doing very little, but it's gone really the other way, where it's now, as I'm recording this, it's November. It's early November in the UK and Bristol. It's sort of going into autumn, into winter. The nights becoming darker. I really like astrology and stuff, so I like the moon. So I like the idea that yeah, we're kind of going into the darker part of the year in this hemisphere. So it's a time for kind of going inwards, and I really feel the need for that after such an external kind of yang energy for such a long time. It feels really nice to slow the flip down and listen to myself and reconnect. And yeah, but what's felt really lovely about it is that things are still sort of, for me, a big lesson is that you don't have to be pushing and kind of doing all the time. That you can just receive, and stuff will still come to you. And that's kind of what's been happening recently. I've had a few really lovely things come in without me doing anything, which is nice when you're used to hustling all the time, to realise that actually you can just relax a little. So yeah, I mean, what I would like to talk about that I'm excited about is that I am writing, at the moment, I'm writing and producing a new album, but quite slowly, because I really want to take my time with it. But my inspiration is folklore and mythology, and the roots of that, why we tell stories, which is what we've always done, where those stories come from, and kind of, you know, the not the art of telling stories, but because it's something we all do and we've always done, and we've always used folklore and myths and monsters to kind of project things that are going on in the society at the time that we needed to process. We kind of create these archetypes for us to process them, and these stories for us to process them. And I wonder, you know, what stories are we telling right now? What are we trying to process? Can we take some of these old myths and heritage from different parts of the world even, and how can we apply that to now? So I've completed one song, and I've produced sort of a demo of it. I'm currently working with another really great engineer to do some co-production on it, because again, as I said, I'm enjoying collaborating at the moment, which is nice. Which is called The Changeling. So it's all about Irish mythology around changelings, which, if you don't know about it already, I would highly recommend looking into it, reading up on it. Blind Boy is a great person to listen to, his podcast for Irish mythology. I just love learning about the history of it and what was going on socially at the time. But yeah, it's the idea of being sort of swapped by a fairy. So a child will be swapped by a fairy for a child that looks the same but as your child, but is actually a fairy changeling child, and it's a bad thing. Or a wife would be swapped by the fairies. So we don't know, but we think that the reason it happened was because if you were in quite a tough position, maybe you didn't have much money, you're quite poor, which was going on in Ireland at the time of this sort of folklore emerging. Imagine you had a child who was ill or had a disability or something which meant that they weren't able to um, contribute to the family in the way that you needed when you're in poverty. Having this myth allowed people to go and leave this child out in the woods or by the river or something for the fairies to collect. So it allowed people to abandon children that they weren't able to keep due to poverty, or wives that they didn't want due to whatever reason. So it's quite a dark history, but I find it fascinating that that's where it comes from. So my reworking of the story, like in current times for me, what it meant, how I wanted to rework it, is this sort of in 3 acts, the song. I like the idea of yeah, sort of the pre-changeling, the original woman per se, speaking in first person. She's feeling the pressures to sort of perform for a gaze, fitting into the shape she's told she needs to fit into, contorting. There's a lot of sort of theatrical language, contorting in ways she needs to, which I'm sure as a woman or many other people, whoever you are, can relate to that pressure of having to fit into certain boxes, feeling pressures from society. So it's that kind of feeling like you have to fit into a certain gaze. It's that, and then she has a bath and peels off her skin, and underneath she is the changeling. But it's actually like a reclaiming of the changeling, and being like, yeah, I am feral and I bite, like I am this wild thing, and yeah, that's who I am and that's who I want to be. It's sort of like reclaiming this idea of being this monstrous thing and actually being like, yeah, I am. But what it means is that not caring about these sort of external pressures anymore. So yeah, that's a little insight to what I've been working on that I'm really excited about. I've been doing a few collaborations with other really great producers recently. I've been writing for them, so there's some things coming out and some remixes next year and festivals, all that jazz. So there'll be lots to come, I'm sure, but I'm enjoying the sort of cocoon stage at the moment. Poets that I am a fan of, I should have prepped. I should have prepped for this. I love poetry. I can't think of any off the top of my head because now I'm freezing up. I should have prepped for this. Oh, my books are downstairs, so I haven't got any to hand. I'm going to come back to you on that, which feels pretty awful for a poetry podcast. Oh, one thing I have been really enjoying, I really enjoyed actually, Kate Bush had a book of poems that I got bought a while ago. I love that. I love reading her words. And yeah, more so than poetry. Recently, what I can tell you about is a few books about folklore I've been reading, which isn't poetry, but it's close enough, and I've got them here on me so I can look. So what have I got that I've been reading? Cornish Folklore by Robert Hunt. I've got A Treasury of British Folklore, Maypoles, Mandrakes and Mistletoe by D.D. Cheney. That's really great. Lots of little stories and tidbits about different places in the country. You can kind of look it up by, this is in the UK, you can look it up by location or story. It's really fascinating. And then I've got Glastonbury, Maker of Myths by Francis Howard Gordon. Where I am in Bristol, Glastonbury is quite close by. It's only sort of an hour or so drive away. And I've been there a few times, and it's a really, it's somewhere where mythology and history feels very present. So I really wanted to explore. I like the idea of walking around a place and exploring it and reading about it and sort of yeah, having a real time, a sort of experience of it in real time whilst reading its history. And it's a really good book. It sort of explores lots of the different myths of Glastonbury, the history of it, lots of fairy stuff, and all sorts really. But it kind of looks at it through different ages, a sort of pagan perspective, a more Christian perspective of these different sites and how it's changed as well, which I find really fascinating. How stories change and evolve. Yeah, so no poetry, sadly, but there is some books, so close enough. Um, Lovely. So I now am going to announce the winner of the 2024 Symphonic Challenge. So for this, the poems that I read were all beautiful. I loved, I felt overwhelmed with emotion reading them all. It just felt lovely to read such beautiful work. And the winner that I've selected is After Blistered Tongue by Kika Mann, which I just absolutely adored. I thought the way that Kika structured their writing was really unique and interesting. It kind of just brought up, it was more about the way it just made me feel. Oh, it felt like touching into something other, like in another world, sort of out of normal time and space. I loved it. So Kika is a writer from Belgium and Hong Kong. They write about their mixed heritage, mental health, about music and blueness. They grapple daily with the question of where one community starts and the other ends. They emphasise tenderness and platonic affections above all. They're one of the founding members of Slam Tea, Slam Poetry and Spoken Word platform, and a PhD candidate in cultural studies at the Chinese University of Hong Kong, working on queering zines. Kika is the author of Let the Morning Come, and they have been published in Capsule Stories, Anti-Heroin Chic, Bridge, and others. So Kika, you can find Kika on Instagram at Kika Winling. So KIKAWINLING, or kikawinling.wordpress.com. So I'm going to read Kika's wonderful poem now. Comes loose the palate, the aftermath of fresh pineapple. Early summer ice cream specked with a taste of iron, even the sky bronzed the clouds. Two have a bite that does not let go. Kite strings strung to the sun, ooh ooh, to the rhythm of barred rituals. We are writing at home and we are fishing in the sea. A calm day, a frenzied wind, lost in the tree canopies. There is only one candle left, and it has turned our shadows into outstretched toads sliding down mountain walls. The fallen star fruit rots. This trail turned pungent, the night still aflame. 'Tis a ghost story for the moppets and the witches. Yeah, just feels absolutely magical and otherworldly, but still so much imagery that's of this world. I love the pineapple at the start. Yeah, just beautiful, detailed, specific, lovely. So I also want to thank the finalists Chris Dierico and Charlie Cole. You can read those in Dipty's online tank as well. They're also brilliant pieces of work, so I'd highly recommend you read all of those, which you can all find on the platform. So I'm going to share with you a recommendation of another artist that I really like. So an artist that I really love at the moment is OK Kaya. I mean, I think she's pretty well known now. She's getting quite big, so you've probably already heard of her. She's awesome, and she's actually on tour in the UK. So I'm seeing her next Wednesday, which I'm mega excited about. One of her songs that I really like is The Groke, um, and Mother Nature's Bitch. They're both, just amazing. And The Groke, I think actually is, I haven't looked into it, but I think is more folklore. So she's a folklore queen as well. She loves it. Yeah, she's amazing. Yeah. So cool. So yeah, I think that's me for this podcast. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much, Dippity Literary Magazine, for having me. You guys are amazing. I love the community that you create. The work that you share is brilliant. Yeah, it's wonderful to be a part of this community. So if you'd like to follow me and follow more of what I'm doing on all socials, I am Emily Magpie. Yeah. That's like, yeah, like yes. So Emily Magpie, yeah, YEAH. On all socials, I would love to, connect with you guys more, chat more, be able to, I've got a mailing list as well, which you can sign up on. If you go on my socials, there'll be a link in the bio for my mailing list. If you want to keep in touch and hear about what's coming up, and hear new music ahead of everyone else, all of that jazz. So thank you so much for having me. It's been amazing to be on the podcast, to share a little bit of my world. I'd love to hear a bit more about you guys and what's going on in yours. And if you have any more poetry you want to share, send it my way, because I'm always keen to hear it. And I do read poetry, I promise, not just stories about folklore. All right, lots of love. Thanks. I'm Emily Magpie. Bye.